Oh, look at that. Now with the top piece off, I can get to all this other super heavy stuff, except for the drip trays. The drip trays are plastic, they're pretty light. But another thing is that make sure I almost nailed this thing right here. So this is the linkage to disengage the locks. And I was just planning on putting the forks in here, which I did put the forks in there, but I'm glad that I stopped where I did because it would have pushed this down and probably broke it off. So luckily enough, I looked, but just kind of a heads up. I guess I can lift it. I don't know how much these weigh, but they're definitely not light. Box right here, we have the power unit, and it is not bad. Last words after I drop it, and I'm mad. Wha-bam. Ugh. I feel like how these two posts, these lower ones, have hardware and you just have to remove it to get them off, which is kind of nice how they did these frames. They're not really that much metal. It's just these end pieces, and that pretty much saves the whole thing from getting damaged and shipping. Team lift, guys. Probably should label these. This one's a right. Doing it the first way with the forklift was a failure because as you try to stand this thing up on that beam, if you're not on these ends, it's lopsided and wants to tip forward. So that was kind of really sketchy when it's all the way up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these straps. One side is now up, and technically it was a success, but I accidentally dropped one of these down the thing. So now I have to fish it out. It's right here. That's gonna be fun. Oh, I wonder if I could just get it through this hole. Maybe they designed it so you could pull it out this hole. Please, please come out. Please come out. Nope. Successful at being resilient. I got it all the way up, and then my arm's long enough I could stick it all the way down because I couldn't get past here. And now we have all of the Teflon bushings in and the holders, and now we just need to do the other side. So I think it was a success. If you only have one person, that's probably, it's a little sketchy, but if you're careful, you can get it done. And I've come to the conclusion that it's probably better to just have a second person to erect the It's kind of nice because all the hardware is separated in individual bags. Now it's not gonna slide at all. About. Now we need to put these end plates on. Piece that slips in here on both sides. You get 4 of them, just in case. You could put them on there when the lift's up. Then you don't have to worry, or you less of a chance to worry if your parking brake fails, or your brakes fail, or whatever fails, wheel chuck fails. They stick up pretty high, and the car most likely won't roll off. I mean, it's all dependent on how heavy the car is and stuff like that, but it's just kind of a thing that's there as a safety. And lifts like this and big stuff, when it's lifted up, you want to definitely have those extra safeties just in case. So we're going to put the washer, our lock washer, and then they give you a non-nylon nut. And then you're going to put the nut on. So now I have one of the bases in, and the biggest reason why I wanted to get this one bolted in first was because putting this one in, if this one isn't bolted in, if it slips off and there's nothing holding it up and supporting it, then everything's just going to fall down. All the lines for the pump are coming out of this side. The pump or the ram is right here. So that means over on this post, we're going to put our pump motor as well as all of our stuff for the hydraulic system. Up is cutting all these cable ties. They say in the instructions, make sure not to cut the hydraulic hose. I feel like it'd be pretty hard to do that. I guess somebody must have though, or it wouldn't be in the instructions. I made everything with the cables pretty simple because all you have to do is pull this cable through here. There we go. This little cable to go all the way up there. Make sure that it's not on the safety. I thought I was not on the safety because I had this off when I put everything down, but it must have just caught because on all of them, we're not on the locks. So what I need to do is I need to lift this side up with the engine hoist. I'll undo these safeties and then I'll put it on the normal locks. And then these are supposed to pull this back. So if the cable ever snaps, then this goes forward and locks it, so you're not gonna hopefully lose a car because a cable snapped. I now have all the cables routed and it's a very easy process. So you want to leave about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of thread up there so you can adjust the cables later. Everything's now set up with the lock releases, so they just are Heims, but this rod is both normal threads, so you pretty much just adjust it. And how I did it was the same way I do all my suspension arms. I tighten them all in, and then I loosen them to get it the correct length. Pretty much what you want, this side is at the 11 o'clock position, the other side is at the 1 o'clock position, and then you just do one rod and then you get the other rod to length. The next thing I need to do is mount the pump mounting bracket. There's 3 positions you can put this. You can put it this way, or on the back. But since this release is on this side, I mean, it would be nice to have it on the back because it'd be hidden, but then it would be kind of a pain to get to and get that release. And I think just putting it towards the front is going to be perfect. Okay, now I have the hydraulic line right here. All it has is a jam nut. It has the fitting. This is the hydraulic line going to this fitting. This is just like a bulkhead fitting with a jam nut. And then it just goes right through here. Super clean. This is probably the prime position to have this hydraulic unit, because if you have it on the side and then you have another lift next to it, you're not going to be able to get to it. Same thing if it's in the back side. If you have it on the back side, you have another lift next to it. You know, if you have them really close together where the pads are almost touching, you know, you're gonna have to be reaching through it. So if you're using these to work on cars as well as to store cars and trucks, I would recommend just, you know, putting it on the front, probably the best position you could have it in. And then you can get to this right here to go up and down. And well, actually you have the button, I'm guessing, to go up, and then this is to go down. But then as you're going down, you're going to be holding the locks. So you have to hold, you know, you can press the button over here, but then if you're going over here trying to push this down, it's going to be kind of a nightmare. So I think forward mounted is probably the best way to mount these things. I just got back from getting some hydraulic fluid for the pump, and these things take AW or ISO 32, but I was reading online and I wanted to make sure I was getting the correct stuff. I think this stuff is the correct stuff. It does say on the bottle AW ISO 32, and that's what they recommend. But reading online, it seems like there's a cheaper version of hydraulic fluid that people don't tell you about that sometimes has a lot of contaminants in it. And there's a reason it's cheaper, because it's just used to like fix leaky hydraulic equipment like loaders and forklifts and stuff that leaks a lot, that you really don't care if you get all that stuff in the hydraulic system, I guess. I don't know why they would sell that, but hopefully this is the good stuff. I mean, it looks like it's good. It says, it doesn't say it's cheap. I think it was $100 for 5 gallons. I'm going to need another one of these to put the other 2 lifts up. So this thing takes 2.6 gallons. Oil just goes in this cap right here. Oh, I thought it was gonna, this is like a vent too. I thought that was gonna be a little bit bigger of a hole. Let me see if I have a funnel that'll fit in there, because I have a pretty big bucket to pour in. Now I have the fluid level pretty close to full. It's going to suck some of this down to fill up the hydraulic ram. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it all the way up, and that should take all the slack out of the cables, and I'll make sure that all the cables stay on track. Make sure when you're doing it not to put your hands anywhere where they're going to get caught up, but you want to make sure that these don't fall off the pulleys. And then I'll go all the way down, and it will pretty much evacuate all the air out of the ram when you go down. Another thing before you use these motors is they require a 20 amp outlet, and if you're using an extension cord, it has to support up to 20 amps too, because if you don't have a good enough connection, it will burn these motors out. Oh, I guess it's taking fluid out of it. You'd have to go up to go down. Okay, the cables are now getting tight. Okay. Okay. needs to be tightened is that nut right there. So then everything with the linkage will work, because right now what it's doing is it's spinning on that threaded rod. So it's actually not pulling this to disengage the locks. Okay, yeah, I think we're good. Almost effortless. I probably actually should spin this around so the motor is moved by the plug. So I have it in a pretty decent position, but the great thing is the casters are really nice and large, and whatever they're made out of and whatever bearings they have in them, they roll really nice. Obviously this is pretty smooth concrete. There is a few cracks and stuff like that, which they haven't had issues going over. And one person, for the smaller ones, you can move the larger 2 cars by yourself, but I wouldn't recommend it because they're so big and so heavy. This is also really large and really heavy. It's a 9,000 pound lift, but the great thing is all the 4 posts you get from Wildfire have the casters and you can move them around. So you can pretty much build them somewhat close to where you want to build pump motors mounted. So since it's mounted up here on the bracket, it comes down here, they were able to use full beams instead of C-channel, which is great because all the lifts that I saw with C-channel had these really thin, I think the metal was a lot thinner than this here, and they go inside, and then when the lock hits it, it flexes that piece because it's bolted at the top, and then it's just loose at the bottom. So it just flexes it, and then there isn't any of the safety locks on those lifts, which most of those are labeled as storage lifts. I know a lot of people work on them, but these are labeled as a work-on lift. And we have the trays, so they come with the drip trays. They have this tray right here. It's a jack tray, and they come with aluminum ramps. The larger 2-car 4-posts have longer ramps just because of how they're designed. I'm going to install an LED light kit, and this is going to help out because the worst thing about working on 4-posts and having a car on a 4-post is lighting. You have lights under there. These are great because it illuminates underneath the car with LED light strips that are made, they like magnetically attach right here in this channel. I decided to put the LED light strips in this channel, and I think this is the best position just because the light is going to shine up. I originally put them on the side right here, kind of like this, and I feel like the light is going to just shine this way. So down here, I feel like it's going to light up the underneath of the car or where I'm working, and you can see when they're on, they're nice and bright. Cable ties are nice. They have an open end and it's kind of like a hook. So I think I'm gonna go like this, have it go up so it doesn't accidentally fall out. The wiring is coming across, and I use the provided wire ties. I'm probably going to end up using a zip tie to kind of secure these a little bit better just so it doesn't pop out. They're not really super secure, so I'll just use the little tiny zip ties on each one of these, and then the other wire comes here. I have the switch right here, and you can see it illuminating the ceiling right there. So it's pretty much just the same shape as the 4-post lift. It's like a square. And then coming across, the thing about these lifts and the thing about the hydraulic hose is it comes and it attaches here, but it has all this extra length because it has to have slack to go up and down, or enough slack to go up and down. And the same thing goes for the wiring. So I didn't want the wiring to just be like hanging around where it would get caught on something. So I ran it with the hydraulic hose. What I eventually want to do, instead of having the pump motor connected to the wall with a 20 amp outlet, I want to put a 20 amp outlet on the ceiling where the lift's going to be at, and the same thing with the bigger ones. So then all the wiring does is it comes straight up and goes to the ceiling. The last thing I have to install on the lift is the air over hydraulic jack for it. And this thing is going to be great because I need a way to lift cars up, and on a 4-post, these things come in handy. I know you guys have seen these on alignment racks, but this is a scissor jack, air over hydraulic, and it actually lifts it up. I think it said 17 inches or something like that. Screw loose. A couple screws loose. Another screw loose. It has adapters or something in it. Yeah, it just has the adapters that go on this. If you're doing like a truck or something, but most of the time when we're doing cars, I'll probably do some trucks on this because this is a 9,000 pound lift and it's made to do cars and trucks. But the great thing is, these things right here have a nice little spot right there. And you have 2 different sizes. So you have none, medium, or tall. I now have the Hellcat Magnum on the lift, and I really like the positioning of this lift. There are a few downfalls of having it here. So the great thing about these Wildfire lifts is you can drive over them, meaning you can put ramps on both sides of the lift. And that means if I had it in front of the door over there and I didn't have anybody here to help me push a car in or push a car onto the lift or a truck or something heavy, I could use another car, tow it over the lift, and then back the car out. And whatever I was working on that didn't run and drive, it would already be on the lift. The great thing is this is a 9,000 pound lift, so that means I could do diesel trucks, cars, whatever it may be. The thing about diesel trucks is this ceiling isn't very high, so I can lift them up, and I couldn't go all the way up with them just because of ceiling height, not because of the lift. But I'm really happy that I now have a lift to start working on some projects again, because really moving to the new shop and doing all of this stuff and getting everything set up has just been such kind of an adventure. At the same time, I've been wanting to work on projects, but you can't work on projects until everything is set up. So hopefully now that we have the lift back there, we can start working on projects once again. And I cannot wait to start using it and just really kind of setting the shop up. I'm just gonna try stuff out. Great thing about those lifts is you can roll them around and position them how you want them. And maybe once I find a position that I really like and I want to just leave it there, I'll probably end up bolting it down to the floor. If you have never heard of Wildfire Lifts, I will put a link in the description. This is the 9,000 pound XLT lift. And after a bunch of research and trying to find a lift that will suit my needs, I found these lifts, and I think that they're going to work perfectly. This will do 9,000 pounds and under, so that means cars and trucks, which is gonna be perfect for me. And they have a bunch of other lifts if you're looking for boat lifts, car lifts, exotic car lifts, dual double wide lifts, all 4-post stuff right now, but they're all made in America. They're based out of Minneapolis or Minnesota, somewhere, I think it's Minneapolis, and they have a bunch of distributors all over the United States. So these ones came from Texas. And I'm just, I can't wait to start using them. I'm gonna end the video here. If you guys like these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button, throw a thumbs up, throw a comment below, share it with your friends, and as always, see you guys next time.